Welcome to my channel. My name's Angela, and on this plot here I grow my own organic fruit, vegetables and cut flowers. And today I've come down to the plot to plant out my peas. I've been having to sow them at home and then bring them down to the plot because the ones that I direct sowed got eaten. I think it was by rats actually that it got eaten. So I'll show you what I've got and then I'll show you what I'm going to do. So these are my peas. These are my sugar snap peas. And these are my Hurst Green Shaft peas, and these ones you eat from the pod, and these ones you eat the whole pod and the peas. So as you can see here with these, I've had to put a little cord down because they're getting quite big now, and this is just to hold them in. What I've got is I've got some sticks, and then I've got some of this pea netting that I use. And then, as you can see up here, I've got some more twine, and this is to help prevent the birds from coming down and landing in between it. And then just around the edge I've got some of this scaffolding netting, and this stuff here, this stops the birds from being able to get in, and it helps keeps other pests and things off my peas. And then I've got a little pathway down the middle, and this is so that we can walk down the middle when we come to harvest them. And as you can see, these ones here, they're getting quite big as well, so I'm going to need to tie these in. And because I've been planting them in batches, it means that I will be harvesting them in batches. I've got my first batch here, my second batch here, and then if I turn you around and down this end, this is where the ones that I've sown stop. These are the latest ones that I planted out, and I've now got another tray that I've brought down that I've sowed at home, and then I'm going to plant those out into the gaps here. So I have a quick weed, and then what I'll do is I will plant them out into the gaps here, and I'll show you what that looks like in a minute. So I grow my peas in root trainers. I know a lot of people use the guttering method for allotments, but I just don't have the space for guttering, so I use these nice root trainers, and then I put 4 peas per root trainer. I think, yeah, all 4 have germinated, so 1, 2, 3, 4. So I put those in, and then what I do is I dig out a trench, and then I will line up my peas in the trench next to each other, and I put them quite close together like this, and then they will then grow up the trellis here, and I have lots and lots of peas to harvest. So I'll put those in now, and then I will show you what this row looks like, and this little bit of a row when I finish. So this is the shelling peas, the Hurst Green Shaft, and over this side is the sugar snap peas. And I deliberately, when I did them, I planted up to about here with the shelling peas, the Hurst Green Shaft, and I only did about 3 of these with the sugar snap peas because I didn't need as many of those. I had more of these already, and so hopefully I've worked it out correctly and I've got enough to fill up the rest of these rows, and then I hopefully have lots of lovely peas to eat. So this is what the peas are looking like. They're all planted in, and then there's the row down here as well. As you can see, I didn't quite get to the end on either side. What I've decided to do is I'm going to put some cucumbers in either side, and they'll be happy growing up. So I'll put 1 of each on either side. And then these are the peas that went in first, and I've just got to finish tying those ones in, and then the peas will be done. So next up, it's my tomatoes, and I don't know if you're like me, but when I first leave them outside overnight, it's always a bit of a tense moment. You hope that they're not going to get too shocked and they're going to be all right, because they are a little bit more delicate than some of the other plants. But they spent the entire night out last night and they still look fine, so it means that they're now going to be ready for me to plant them out. I'll show you my tomatoes that I've got in a minute. What I've got is I've got 2 varieties, and they're both cordon varieties, so you don't let the side shoots come off, you just grow them up a cane and then you get the fruit off them. I've got marketmore, which is the nice little cherry tomatoes, and I've got Alicante, and they're sort of a slightly larger one. They're not massive, they're slightly larger, and they're sort of still a salad tomato, and I find that they're quite nice varieties and they do quite well outside, so that's why I'm growing them. So I'll show you my tomatoes. So these are the 2 varieties. This is my marketmore tomatoes, and these are my Alicante tomatoes, and it's lucky that I labelled them because I would not be able to tell them apart. So they're both in different trays, and they're itching to go out. Now what I'm going to do with these, because they have got a little bit leggy, what I'm going to do is I'm going to nip off the leaves of these, and tomatoes will grow roots from their stem, which is really handy. So all of these little tiny hairs, I don't know if it will focus on that enough for you to see, but tomatoes have got lots of tiny little hairs growing up their stems, and each of those hairs will become a root. So what I will do is these will look like pathetic tiny little tomatoes when I plant them, because I'm probably going to plant them up to about here actually. So all of this stem will go into the ground, and what I will do with these side branches is I will just pinch them off like this, all the way down, and then that will go into the ground, and I'll plant it all the way up to here, and then there'll be lots and lots of roots that will come out of that. So I'll be digging some very deep holes for these ones, and I'm going to plant them in a row along here. Those are the plants that I was talking about in my last video. I've got a Tayberry and I've got a Thornless Blackberry, and they're going to be going in as well today, and so I'm quite excited to see how they do. And if I take you over to the Thornless Blackberry, which is the first one, this isn't the Tayberry, this is the Thornless Blackberry, it's already got flowers on it. So I got this from DT Brown, and it is, I'll show you the variety. I ordered it a little while ago. It's called Blackberry Loch Ness. So that came in the post. It came really nicely packaged actually, and it's got lots of leaves on it. It's only got one stem on this one. The other stems that are in here have they haven't grown actually, they're dead, but it's got one nice healthy stem. And what I hope to do with it is, once it gets established and it gets a bit bigger, I'll start taking cuttings off this, and then it'll give me a few more plants. And then if I go over to this one, this is my Tayberry, and this has got quite a few stems, and this variety is called Buckingham Tayberry, and that's also from DT Brown, and that's how they both arrived in the post. They're in a box together. So I'll show you how I'm going to plant my tomato now. I'm trying the Charles Dowding method, where you put the cardboard down and then you put compost on top. And so I've dug a really big hole down here underneath the cardboard, and then what I've done is I've put the soil here. As you can see, it's actually good quality soil that I've got on my plot. It's nice and dark, which means it's nice and nutritious, and it's not clay soil, it's nice and loamy. The only thing that is wrong with my soil is the fact that it's got lots of stones in it, but apart from that, it's really nice to work with. So what you do is you get your tomato, take this through. So I've nipped all of the leaves off this one, apart from the ones right at the very top. And I'm going to put it right down into the hole like this. So there's only the top little bit that's outside of the soil, and then all of this stem that's inside this hole, all of this is going to grow lots and lots of nice roots on it. So it will get really established in the soil, and it will grow really well. And you don't want any of the tomato leaves too close to the ground, because tomatoes are really susceptible to something called blight, and so you don't want any of the water splashing up and hitting the leaves, which is why this one needed to go, because that's just too close to the ground, because it's about that level. So what I'll do is I'll fill in the hole, and then I'm going to be planting them about 3 feet apart all the way along my marker, all the way to the end over there. So my tomatoes in, and then this is something that I've got which I actually find really handy. It's just measuring tape that's on a inside this that spins round, and then you can open it up. I got it from Amazon, and it's really handy because if you're like me and you're terrible with measurements, you can just see along here. So I just put this along the ground, and it lies sort of nice and flat. It's flexible, so it doesn't break, it doesn't snap like the regular measuring tape that you use in the house for sort of DIY sort of projects. And then it's got the measurements marked on it really nicely. Then on the other side it's got the centimetres for you, so you can either work in centimetres and metres on that side, or you can work in inches and feet. and then it's just got I just put a little stick in the ground, and it's got a really handy little hook here that you can sort of thread on it, and then it means you can hold it in place, so you can get things nice and spaced out evenly all the way along your lines. So this is what the bed looks like now. I planted it all up with the tomatoes, and I've also put in my Thornless Blackberry and my Tayberry down at the back, and then in between I put in some Swiss chard, because these I will eventually take cuttings and fill up this amount of space for the whole row, but at the moment it's spare space, so I've just put some Swiss chard in for that. Now with tomatoes, because they suffer from blight, you need to make sure that there's lots of aeration around them, so I'm not going to plant anything that gets too big in between my tomatoes. I'm going to keep lots of space in between them so that there's lots of nice airflow through it, so I can hopefully avoid getting blight on them in the plot. And so that's what they look like. As you can see, I grew a few too many tomatoes, so I'm going to have to give some away. I thought what I might do though is, I've only got 5 of each in at the moment. What I might do is I might put a couple in a pot, and then what I might also do is up at the top, up there where there's some space, I might put 2 more rows in down there. Thank you for watching my video. My son's here giving me a hand today. Do you want to say hi?
Hi.
So if you like my video, please give it a big thumbs up. And I'm going to try and post 2 videos a week. I work full time, and so sometimes it's a little bit difficult, but hopefully I'll manage to do that. So stay safe, take care, and I will see you on the next one. Bye.